Hi everyone, Lynn here, and today I'm starting off my layout by doing some fussy cutting. I used two of the Prima Salvage District papers to get my fussy cut pieces from. And I also have two other pieces of pattern paper from the Prima Salvage District that I'm using as my background. This piece will be the base, and then the next piece that you'll see I'm actually tearing right around the edges. Now I'm actually gluing down my fussy cut pieces to each other, not to the background. I will add some chipboard in behind some of those pieces, but right now I'm just gluing them to each other. I forgot to mention that I did edge all of my papers with Tim Holtz Distress ink in Hickory Smoke. I had already decided ahead of time how I was going to put those fussy cut pieces together, and so you'll see me fuss around a little bit just to make sure that they're exactly the way that I wanted them to begin with. Once I'm happy with my design and the placement of it, I'm going to go ahead and using a pencil just make some marks around the outer edges of my fussy cut piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and start working on the background piece. I'm using an older Crafters Workshop stencil called Harlequin and some Prima Art Alchemy acrylic paint in Opal Magic Green Gold. And using a makeup sponge, I'm just going to pounce up and down here and there. I'm not going to fill in all of the diamonds of the Harlequin. So I'm just going to continue in this manner until I've got the coverage that I want, and I will move my stencil further down just so I can get the bottom edge as well. My next step is to go ahead and spray my background. I'm using 13 Arts Chalk Mist Gray and Prima Color Bloom in Soft Teal. And you can see that my mists are both coming out kind of splattered. That's pretty much because I was at the end of both bottles, and so I really had to fight to get the last little bits out of the bottle. Now I'm not being specific, I'm just doing a random spray on the background. And once I'm done spraying, I'm going to go ahead and use a paper towel and wipe off the excess off of the painted areas. Now I'm going ahead and adding a few pieces of chipboard in behind some of the papers. Not all of them. I don't want it to be overall lifted up. I wanted some pieces up a little bit higher than others. And once I was happy with the overall look of my background fussy cut piece, I went ahead and added some glue pretty much all over the back of it and placed it down in the position where I wanted. I took out the Petaloo burlap trim and went ahead and cut myself a piece, and then I also went ahead and cut it down the middle so I'd have two pieces out of it. The one width was just a little too wide. Once I've cut apart my pieces, I'm going to go ahead and fray the cut edges, and I'm going to save those. I'm going to use those a little later on. And now I'm going ahead and gluing down my trim. I'm actually gathering it as I'm going along, adding some glue and then gathering up my piece. Doing that on both sides, taking up some of the loose ends with it. once I was done with that first piece, I decided that I really liked the look of it and decided to take the second piece and add that a little bit further down, and actually tucked it underneath one of the papers, and that's one of the ones that I added chipboard underneath, so it made it real easy for me to be able to tuck in that last piece. Now it's time to add my embellishments. I'm using some of the leaves that I also fussy cut from the paper, and I'm gluing those on the bottom of my photo. Now you probably noticed that my photo has a white strip on the bottom. I opted not to cut it off, and it actually worked out really good because you can't see it anyways underneath my flowers, but it just added a little bit of extra length to the picture and for me to be able to place my flowers onto. These flowers are petaloo anemones, pistachio, and then the small ones are garden rosettes in green. And I'm just tucking in more leaves in between, behind my flowers. You just saw me add another flower. My original plan was to only have the 3 flowers that you see right now on the screen. And then I changed my mind. Even though I like to work in odd numbers, I found that the fussy cut flower actually made my 5th flower, so it was working out really well for me. And I'm just going to keep tucking in some more leaves here and there. The next step was to go ahead and color the fussy cut leaves. I am using the Primacolor Bloom in the soft teal, and I'm really not being particular about how I'm putting it on my leaves. In some areas it's very light, in other areas it's darker. I have some areas that I didn't add any on the leaves, but I'm going to go ahead and do that on pretty much all the leaves on my page. This is where I realized that I wanted to lift up that flower a little bit, so I went ahead and cut a piece of chipboard and then glued it in between the flower and the paper. And once I was done with that, I went ahead and colored in the flower with the soft teal. I had also fussy cut one of the butterflies from the paper, so I went ahead and colored that with the soft teal. And as well, there's 4 butterflies on my fussy cut pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and color those as well. And once I'm done with that, then I'm going to go ahead and go around the edges, or basically tucking underneath as well, underneath the flowers and underneath my fussy cut papers. I'm going to go ahead and add some more of the soft teal. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the 13 Arts Chalk Mist Gray. I'm just going to highlight some areas. It's more like a low light actually, just to add dimension to my papers and to lift up, you know, that big fussy cut piece that I have, as well as my flowers. I'm not going to add as much as I did of the teal, but I will add it here and there, and once again, that's basically just to add dimension. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some of the mini pearls from USA Quest to my background. I'm going to start by adding it on top of my burlap. I'm using the 13 Arts Gel Matte Medium to adhere the pearls down. So what I'm doing is I'm picking up some of the medium and then dunking my brush into the pearls, and then I'm actually rolling and pushing the pearls off of my brush as I'm touching the layout. You'll see that a little bit better as I work off of the burlap. Doing it this way also makes it easier to get just a small amount of pearls onto your paper or your burlap, whatever background you're putting it onto. It'd be much harder to do that by first adding the medium and then pouring on your pearls. So now I'm getting ready to add my butterfly, and I've cut myself some really tiny pieces of chipboard just to glue to the back of the wings so that I get some dimension off of the butterfly wings themselves. Once I've got those drying, then I'm going to go ahead and take the leftover bits and pieces of the burlap trim, what I'd actually frayed, and I want to add that in between my flowers, and so I've decided that I'm going to cut my pieces in half and then just overlap them, add a bit of glue to the center, and then just tuck it in behind the small flower. And now, of course, it's time to glue on my butterfly. I'm going to manipulate the butterfly itself so that I'm lifting up those wings, and I'm gluing it right to the top of my flower. The last thing to add onto my layout is some Prima Satin crystals. These are from Salvage District collection. I'm adding a handful of them here and there, and I'm really not being particular about where I'm placing them. That's all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed my Build-A-Page for Flying Unicorn using the June kit of the month. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.